On this episode of the Star Wars Time Show, Matt and Nick will be deep diving into the sequel trilogy to decide once and for all if it's underrated, overhated, or an actual narrative mess. They'll discuss the highs and lows of the trilogy while also showcasing the differences between George Lucas's version. Young Nick even has an idea to give the sequels their own Clone Wars-style animated show to help flesh out the era even more. Of course, they'll end the show with the Question of the Week responses and the latest round of Star Wars fan artist features. Punch it, Chewie.
Hey, now, everybody! Woo! 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 Sorry, I went to a WWE live Raw event this week, Nick. I don't know if I shared that with you yet, but it was quite the experience. Took the little one there for the first time. She's gotten into wrestling ever since it went to Netflix, and we're like, you know what? We can get 4 rows back on the floor behind Pat and Michael Cole for a reasonable price. End row, Nick, for people like me that get nervous about peeing. So we jumped on it last minute, ran down there Monday night, and really had a blast. I mean, we were in plenty of live shots on Netflix. Anytime they went to the announcers, you could see my little short ass trying to stand up, get on camera. I posted some of the images to our Discord if you want to check them out. We've got an open link that you can join right in the description of this live stream. So wrestling is fun. It was a great little show. We had a title change, which you usually don't get unless it's a pay-per-view or a peacocker, I guess, these days. But boy, oh boy, can the WWE still put on a fun little live show. It looks like Thrawn Kills, a wrestling fan, watched a little Raw on Monday. I've heard from the community, like I'm not as deep into WWE as Star Wars, obviously, but I heard from the community that this Monday Night Raw was one of the best of the year so far. So good for us. Nice. Nick, we're headed into Elimination Chamber this Saturday, so the stakes are getting higher and higher.
Dude, it's crazy too, because I feel like now is the biggest that wrestling's been in a while.
Yeah.
Like over the last 2 years, I've heard more about wrestling from people in our age group than I have in a long, long time. Like it almost seems like Attitude Era kids are getting back into wrestling now.
Yeah, and it's probably through exposing it to their own kids, you know what I mean? I mean, that's kind of... I'd say I got the bug again last WrestleMania. We only watched WrestleMania. We didn't pick up after that, so I kind of missed the whole season. But once it hit Netflix this year, it's like, all right, here we go. So we jumped on whenever it hit, and we've been following the stories. We watched Royal Rumble, and now we're off to the races. And it's not nearly as rated R as it used to be. The women are way more involved, but they're actually athletes now. Yeah, they actually wrestle, and they're not just out there for eye candy. In fact, I think the women put on some of the best matches on Monday night. But
yeah, I mean, I know that Rhea Ripley is the most popular wrestler on the planet right now, or something like that.
Yeah, no, she's great. We didn't get to see her wrestle. She just did a promo up in the stands, so we missed that. But I mean, we got, Jey Uso, who's probably my guy right now. He does the yeet stuff, and he gets the whole place going, yeet, yeet, yeet. Plus, my kid loves him. Cody Rhodes showed up. He's usually on SmackDown, so that was a nice little bonus. We got Seth Rollins came out. He's got a great entrance. It's just fun. Listen, I know I'm old. I know it's all fake, but it's entertainment. Guess what? Every show you watch on TV is fake, too. Okay? They know the outcomes in all your Miller Time shows as well. All right? It's okay. Wrestling fans, we're not as stupid as we look, all right? Although, I'm not going to lie, being in the arena, I was like, holy shit. I am a bit of an outlier in this group, but it's all right. It was definitely an Ohio-looking crowd. That's all I'll say. You know what I mean? All right, good to see everyone here. Hey, Cash, what's going on? We got Cash Stitching here. We got a new one, Thrawn Kill. I'm with you, man. Jey Uso, day one-ish. Let's go, yeet, yeet. Thanks for the sub there, cash. And look at that, Divided checking in from the cruise. We got Sir Dork Ben and the usuals in here. I know Tones popped in here for a second, so it's good to see all the regulars here. All right, I told Nick I'd try to keep moving things along, and I already got stuck on a wrestling tangent, but check it out. I mean, like I said, if you're in our Discord, I shared some of the images. You can see how close we were. It was fantastic. It's the whole fake thing. It's like people can't understand that the outcomes are determined, but then they're like, oh, it's all fake. No, I mean, these people are some of the best fucking athletes and entertainers on the planet. The shit that they do to their bodies and like the stuntmen-esque risks they take, there's nothing fake about it. All right.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a toll on your body. And I mean, look, if you want to look at a proof point in a way, you can see that, like, in the past, Brock Lesnar went to the UFC and then won the UFC heavyweight championship, like beat some pretty, like it was a weak time in that division, but like he still beat legitimate fighters. I mean, you've had other people transition over into like legitimate UFC fighting or MMA fighting.
Like you said, Nick, there's almost a reverse too. They're like, fuck, I can make more money in WWE than the UFC.
Yeah.
So, or just amateur wrestling. I mean, what's his name's in there now? I forget. Cole's, he was a really good wrestler. I forget if he's at Iowa or something, but he's kind of like the new Kurt Angle. He even gets the "you suck" chant from back in the day. Hey there, Tones is in here, and Divided is back from the cruise. Looks like she had a great time checking that out on IG. All right, my man, let's go ahead. We usually kick off the show with a little bit of bullshit, so there's the bullshit. Now we got Ask Us Anything. The way to get involved there is just follow us on our socials. Head over to StarWarsTime.net. You can loop in over there. Just make sure to turn on the notifications because the AI overlords do not like us. They will not show you our content unless you say, hey, show me this content, all right? But every week we ask our fans for a little Ask Us Anything, and they usually bring the goods. So let's go ahead and get that screen popped up now, Nick. We got a few interesting questions, typically from the usuals, but we do have a new one here. This one popped up over on our Discord because we post the prompt there as well, from SM Wagner. All right, they say, I've been putting a lot of thought into this over the last couple of weeks, so get ready, Nick. Buckle up.
All right.
Question is, when was your first introduction to the galaxy far, far away? And what, if you remember, was your main takeaway from the experience? Matt, you and I are similar in age, but mine was a dubbed VHS version of A New Hope. Not sure yours was similar or not, but I would like to know from both. So, Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, for me, I saw A New Hope. I mean, I saw the entire original trilogy for the first time when I was like 10 or like either late 9 or early 10. So it was pretty, I was still young. I was still in my youth at that time. So it was around like 97, 98 the first time I saw it. And at that time, I had never really seen anything like it before. Like Star Wars, even at that time before the release of the prequel trilogy and, compared to everything else that was already released or that was already available out there in like the sci-fi, like space fantasy type of realm, like there really wasn't anything like Star Wars. And I just kind of immediately got hooked. I saw it from one of my friends. He had the VHS box set. So I recorded all of the VHSs and I just watched them all the time when I was at home.
Yeah, burn that magnetic tape out, right?
Yeah, just playing the tapes out until I was able to get the OT release on DVD and then all the other good stuff that came with it. So that's my story.
Wagner, I mean, honestly, it's basically since birth. I was in my mother's womb when they went to go see Empire Strikes Back, and I think kind of the sound waves started to penetrate the placenta into my brain at that point in time. But like you, it was, and Nick, it was VHS, but it was actually, my uncle was always kind of like getting new tech when he could. So my mom explained, like he had one of the first ever VCRs. And I think he just recorded it off of HBO or something. And those were my initial tapes. I'll never forget it. It was a blank VHS with a sticker on it and a printed label of Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. It wasn't until the box set, like the gold or silver box set, came out that I actually owned the official movies. But like most of you, I can't even remember how it started. It's always been a part of my life, but it was definitely spurred on through the dad and VHS tapes as well. Hey, there's Seventh Music. What's going on here? You are here listening to the greatest live stream Star Wars podcast on the planet. Thanks for finding it. All right, next question here. We're doing a little Ask Us Anything to kick off the show. This is probably going to be me exclusive unless you have some ideas, but we got Baron's Black Series. He's tapping into WWE. He wants to know about WrestleMania. Here are some of his predictions. He's thinking it's going to be Tiffy time versus Charlotte Flair, with Tiffany winning. I agree on that. He's got Rhea Ripley versus, he thinks Alexa Bliss is going to win Elimination Chamber this weekend. So he's got Rhea versus Alexa, with Alexa winning. I don't know about that. I don't know who's going to win Elimination. Jay versus Gunther. Jay wins. I'm pretty sure, Jay's about to get over for sure. And then he's got Cody Rhodes versus Cena. He's thinking Cena's going to win the men's Elimination Chamber this weekend. So I could see that. Let John win or let Cody do a heel turn, as The Rock is kind of setting up to beat down John and cripple him to send him out of wrestling for good. So that's kind of where I'm at there. So there you go. There's some of my WrestleMania predictions. The strongest one there, I mean, Jay, I'm pretty sure is going to get his first title. He just seems to be the next chosen one here. All right, here we go. We got Abigail Sky, a.k.a. Divided, in here. We've got, she's asking, what's your favorite Bloody Mary mixer or garnish, Nick? Later, Johnny.
I'm not a huge Bloody Mary drinker, to be honest with you. Taylor is much more of a Bloody Mary drinker than me. But honestly, I like the Bloody Mary pickle that they, if you get a good pickle spear in there. That's my favorite garnish.
All right, yeah. If I'm using a mixer, I usually go with the Zing brand. If I'm going straight up, obviously a little V8 or tomato juice from wherever. And here's my kicker. Yeah, Tabasco. If you got some olive juice, sure, or an olive. But to me, I think what makes a really good Bloody Mary is some horseradish. All right, do like a little
horseradish.
Oh yeah, a little teaspoon of horseradish in there, and that really kind of ups stuff. Get you. It clears out those sinuses. So Tabasco, horseradish. Nick is right with a pickle. Throw some olives in there. Not down with celery and shit like that.
What about the onion rings that they stack on the top of it?
Yeah. Come on, that's getting crazy.
That shit gets crazy.
I do like. I mean, Bloody Mary is probably one of my favorite mixed drinks, I would say. Do you call that a mixed drink, or is that a cocktail? I mean, what are we talking about?
I mean, whatever. Cocktail, mixed drink, breakfast drink, whatever you want to call it.
Are you a big Tabasco guy, like the various types of Tabasco, or just straight up Tabasco?
I don't like Tabasco as much as I like Crystal. They're both from Louisiana, and Crystal has a better flavor than Tabasco, but usually we use
those are the yellow labels with the wood tops, right?
No, that's Cholula.
Let's see. He does live in Texas, people.
I do live in Texas. All right. Crystal is a green screw top, and the label is blue and white.
Okay.
Yeah. I know. We have too many hot sauces in this house, and we're probably going to do another Hot Ones party over here in March. So we're going to have even more hot sauces.
So you should live stream that shit. We do a members only exclusive Nick eating hot shit. I like it.
Well, it's going to be we're going to invite some friends over. I know last time we had like 10 or 12 people over doing it. It was a fun time.
All right, hold on. We got B Mad throwing a super chat. We love you, brother. He's asking, if you took shrooms, what's a movie or game you'd watch last play? Oh, well, I mean, I'll tell you right now, the last thing I watched was the Arl-Knott's remake of the Star Wars saga, and it is choice for being in that state of mind. But just traditional movie, if you've never done it, I think everyone needs to do 2001 Space Odyssey when they're on a psychedelic.
So I've tried, I've done this, not necessarily shrooms, but marijuana. Shrooms for some of them. The one that I did shrooms with that I really thought was going to help me understand it better was Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
It probably just freaked you out.
That whole movie's just nothing but a long ass drug trip. and it didn't help me understand it, but it definitely made it a little bit more interesting to watch, because if you watch that sober, you're just not in the right mindset to consume what they're throwing at you.
Yeah, I bet The Matrix is a fun one.
Matrix would probably be fun. I've done
in terms of games, I've got some fantastic ones. If you're flipping out a little bit, any sort of golf game, Mario Golf, Tiger Woods Golf. There's something about golf and mushrooms that just works perfectly, especially when the green starts pinwheeling and your characters turn in different colors. Mario Kart's another fun one to try and contend with when you start to lose grip of reality a bit. So yeah, there you go. It's been a while. I might have to go do some worship this weekend. Winnie the Pooh. Nice one, Divided. All right, thank you there, Be Mad. We love you, brother. All right, next question here. EKU Rory, roundabout or stoplight? What do you like better for managing traffic, Nick?
Okay, that's a good question, because Austin just started building more roundabouts, and honestly, if you can navigate those well, like if you know how to navigate them, which like I'm getting a lot better at, those are pretty fucking nice.
Yeah,
as long as they're not too big. Like the ones in France are fucking ridiculous.
They're like citywide, right? I mean, they're like a whole block roundabout.
Yeah, it's nuts, and it's so intimidating to even look at it. But like small roundabouts, they're pretty good. They're pretty.
I'm
good.
with you, but you are correct. It depends on the level of skill with the other drivers you're with, because there's a lot of idiots that hit a roundabout and they'll just slam on the brakes with, what does this triangle yield sign mean? Me never seen this. Me stop. But yeah, roundabouts all the way. EKU Rory. Hold on, we got one coming in here from Skyrim Clips. They're dropping pounds on us, Nick. So the conversion to American, pretty sure Skyrim Clips just gave us $5,000. Okay,
yeah,
so
pretty much the dollar is tanking.
they're asking, hey guys, who are your favorite Jedi and Sith? Go ahead, Nick.
It's a good question. I mean, my favorite Siths that I will always go back to are Darth Bane and Darth Revan, just because I'm a fan of Old Republic stuff. Always have loved those two. So those will be my two favorite Siths, and then my two favorite Jedi. That's a good question. My favorite Jedi is probably, man, there's just not as many cool Jedi as there are cool Sith, in my opinion.
Well, especially like what we're presented to on screen. I mean, yeah, you book readers probably got a deeper kind of cave to explore to find some names, but if you're just going off of canon shit, it's limited.
Yeah, I mean, non-canon, here's what I'll say. Non-canon, I really liked Jaina Solo's character. I thought that Jaina Solo's character in the, post-ROTJ books was really fucking cool. I always enjoyed how she was written in her journey. And for a canon Jedi, it's really hard to not go Luke. Like, Luke is obviously our boy, and like he's had so many great heroic moments that it's hard not to pick Luke. So I'll go Luke Skywalker, and I'll go Jaina Solo for the curveball.
All right. I see. I'm so basic compared to Nick, so I'm gonna have to stick to what's canon. So Sith, I mean, the easy one obviously is Darth Vader. I mean, come on, that's like, I like Darth Vader. I'll go Maul. I love Maul. I mean, we talked about this years past, how his resurrection and then further development through the Clone Wars and Rebels really kind of turned him into a character you could kind of latch onto. He looks rad as hell. So I'll go Maul for Sith. And
does Ahsoka count for Jedi though? Because I see League's got the Ahsoka one up there, but did she ever reach knighthood, or she left as a Padawan?
So that I know, like even Huang was kind of calling her Jedi. Some people call her Jedi. I don't think maybe now as in her white form she would call herself Jedi again. But yeah, that one's a little dicey. Hollow Shape saying TPM is good for fungus eating as well. I could see that. I'm telling you, people, look up the Arlnauts YouTube channel and watch their remake of the saga with Far2 and Creepio. I mean, it is some batshit crazy stuff. Uh-oh, my cat's coming in here. That means I got to get on the edge of my seat and further develop a hemorrhoid here. All right, where the hell were we? Was I supposed to answer a question, or are we moving on here?
No, I think we just got past
my Jedi
clips.
would be again, Luke is easy. So I don't know. I mean, Kanan's a good one.
There
you go. Kanan. Because I don't want to say Kenobi. I mean, obviously I love him. Qui-Gon, he's a great looking dude, but Kanan, he's got some moments, that death, the sacrifice, I'll give it to him for that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I see Thrawn Kill brought up the Zendaya stuff. Here, listen.
Is that like a rumor?
No, here's the deal. It came from somewhere, but the reason I didn't have it to talk about, or I didn't chime in throughout the week, is because I still contend if shit doesn't show up on Star Wars leaks, don't believe it. Star Wars leaks on Reddit still is the most reliable place to go to be like, okay, this is probably going to be a thing. So I'm not touching on the Zendaya's Mara Jade stuff at all until it shows up on leaks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I struggle to see how they would do that outside of an animated series.
Right. Well, yeah, it would be wonky Luke next to the beautiful Zendaya. I mean, it would look.
Yeah, and she's like, my thought is right now she's too young. Like, you can't really approach the Luke and Mara Jade relationship until post ROTJ, and at that, I mean, I don't know, maybe. Yeah, she just feels she always plays teenagers and she looks really young. So I don't know. Mara Jade was always portrayed as somebody who was a little bit more mature even than Luke at the time when they first met.
Got you. Hey, we got Nova in here. Welcome. Yeah, be mad. You're not wrong. Tom Holland is one lucky dude. The question is, will that relationship actually pan out? They've been together since kids. I think he put a ring on it lately. Are they going to make it as superstars? You never know. His career seems to be pulling back a bit where she keeps getting work. Maybe that'll help. He likes to golf a lot, so he's a good man to me. All right. Yeah, I'm so consumed with golf right now. Between golf and guitar, that's all I want to do. That's it.
Nice.
Like those new clubs, I took them out last week. Holy shit, it was worth the mortgaging my soul. It was worth it. I mean, I'm hitting 300, added probably about 10 to 15 mile an hour ball speed, and 30 yards per irons, about 50 yards per wood. So well worth the pickup. All right, I think we got
two more.
Couple
so
more.
We got Harrison
Scion
Ford.
XTC. What other major movie franchise could Harrison Ford join? I guess we're getting this because he did cross over to the MCU. He did Indy. He did Star Wars. What else do you see him in, Nick?
I mean, honestly, whatever he wants to be in, there's nobody that's going to turn him down. He could literally just do this role that he did in Marvel and then walk over to James Gunn and be like, I want to be in DC. And they'd be like, yeah, sure. I don't care. Like, you're Harrison Ford. Yeah, I'll put you in the movie. But the one that makes that I would like to see, but it is really hard to get at this point, I think would be Alien.
Oh, you motherfucker. That's the exact one that popped in my mind when I saw that earlier. You dick. Look, B-Mad's saying it too. It's like we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
See you, Tones. Well, don't worry. We'll make sure to give you a good reach around during the top 5, buddy.
That's right.
It's good to see you in here. Okay. I mean, honestly, Alien was the one that was just like an instant. Yeah, he seems fit for this. What other big franchises do we have that he hasn't really touched?
Yeah.
Matrix. Okay, let's slam him in Matrix. Sure, let's put him in a Matrix movie. Why not? I mean, like Nick said, he's interchangeable at this point in time. Just throw him in.
Yeah, like if you need like a gruff older guy, and like you can use a gruff older guy in a lot of movies. Yeah. You just put him in. I mean, he's already been in what you call it? Like he was already Jack Ryan. He was already in like those films. He was already the president of the United States as well. Like what else can this motherfucker do? Like I don't know. Yeah.
And we got Hollow Shape coming in. Their favorite Jedi is Rey. She is all the Jedi. That is correct. Hey, there's Skyrim Clips. We appreciate you, bro. Thanks for that another super chat, especially when it's poundage.
There we go. Yes.
Their pick is Darth Nihilus and Yoda. All right.
There you go.
Way to go.
Nihilus is good. I like Nihilus as well.
Does Harrison do voice acting like Hamill? No. He does not.
But bro, dude, if you put a check in front
it
of him,
seems
I bet
these
he'd do
days
it now.
money talks for Harrison these days. And then Thronkill, last one, Harrison Ford for the new Terrifier. Is he going to be Art the Clown, the next Art the Clown? All right. Good one there, live chatters. That's why we love having you in here. All right, last one, another one from Abigail. What's the best ice cream and then toppings, Nick?
What's the best ice cream and then toppings? My favorite ice cream has always been, if we're just going like regular flavors, not like all the crazy stuff, my favorite ice cream flavor was always strawberry. I love strawberry ice cream. And then my favorite topping for a strawberry ice cream is chocolate sauce, because then you get like chocolate covered strawberry stuff. Delicious.
Okay. Damn. That's fairly okay. I see where you went. You just kind of went with generic flavors.
I did basic.
Okay, I'll up the game, because I just came across this about a month ago, and I consider myself an ice cream expert. I've eaten thousands of gallons of this shit throughout my life. Used to be a big, cookies and cream, mint cookies and cream, that type of stuff. Like Nick, if I'm just doing base, it's probably a vanilla. But like if you're saying gun to head, Matt, you can only eat this ice cream until you die, I'm going with Jenny's ice cream, brown butter almond brittle. Holy shit. You know that almond taste, Nick? Like you ever have almond extract?
It's like a wedding cake kind of flavor.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I could eat pints and pints of that shit. It's just Jenny's is supremely overpriced, but damn, is that a good flavor. All right, we got some cookies and cream from B-Mad. Banana cherry chocolate for Ben Rye here in the live stream. Don't forget, if you want to join the live, Wednesdays, 5:30 p. Eastern, as close as we can get, youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show. Sir Dork's a peanut butter guy. I love peanut butter. I love myself some Reese's peanut butter cups. I do not like peanut butter and ice cream. Absolutely not. So that you get canceled for that answer, Jared. Thank you. Pistachio is not bad divided. That's not bad.
Not bad. I will say that most of the ice cream that we eat are the crazy flavors that we get from H-E-B, which is the local grocery store in Texas.
We used to fight them when I worked for Kroger.
Kroger's, I figured. But H-E-B does like a ton of like different seasonal ice cream mixed flavors and all this stuff, and we typically like try out all the different kind of flavors that they have over there.
You remember though, like, dude, sometimes just a good Neapolitan is a nice little half gallon to have around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. That's what we always had when I was growing up. It's like we always just had like the vanilla chocolate ice cream split into 3. Boom.
Would you get like the huge 2-gallon tubs to save money? Yeah. And my fat ass, I would just sit there. Like I'd wait till everyone was gone so I wouldn't get in trouble. I'd just sit there with the tub and be like, I used to every weekend when I was a fat fuck, half gallon of ice cream, done by myself, no problem. I would finish it between Saturday and Sunday. I had issues back then. All right, B-Mad coming in with another super chat. You know us. We are shills for money, so we will address it. What childhood snack they don't make anymore or change that you loved as a kid?
That they don't have anymore. A kid. That's a hard one. I think man. And the funny thing is like a lot of the snacks that I had as a kid are still around.
I know that's what I'm thinking. Most of mine have persisted.
Yeah, to me it almost has to be. Oh, you know what it is? Here it is. It's another ice cream one too, and it's a push pop. I don't know if you remember these, but it was like a sherbet ice cream, but it had like a push stick on it.
And I, like our Force fucking connection is getting almost a little creepy right now. the orange push pops, right? With the yellow, red, and blue circles on the tube. You motherfucker, dude. That's exactly what I was going to too, because I'm like, I know push pops still exist, but they're not quite in that form anymore. But you are right.
Yeah, it is. It is different than, I guess they still exist. Because really they were hard. Like the only way that I would get them, if I could remember, was from like the ice cream trucks that would go around.
You might be able to find them in like gas station ice freezers where they have some open novelties these days, but No, yeah, that's right where I was going too, because that's the one thing. I'm like, I can still find strawberry scooter crunches. I mean, snacky cakes are still around. The ones I was eating, Bugles, Chico sticks. I mean, all that shit's still
all
around.
that stuff's still around. Yeah.
You remember
with the toilet paper roll holding it, B Mad said it. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, okay, yeah. No, that's definitely, yeah, that's right. Sir Dork, that's where I saw them recently. They had like Flintstone branded ones. But Nick and I, we're talking about, to me, they're just called orange push pops.
Yeah.
And very generic toilet paper roll, plastic with a platter on it, and you just jam that fucker up and lick, jam it up, lick, and then it's over. So, I like that. Good question there, B-Mad. All right, let's go ahead and get over into some pop culture talk. Thank you to everyone for your Ask Us Anything prompts. Like I said, those go up on our socials if you want to get involved. But real quick here, I got a few things I want to bring to everyone's attention. Checked out The Monkey last week. I don't know what's going on these days, Nick, but it seems February has become Halloween 2, because there's been a lot of like horror flicks releasing during Valentine's Day. It must be a thing. But The Monkey, which is based on a Stephen King short story, is pretty good. It's one of those movies where the kills are just so outlandish you almost laugh at the level of violence. And that's kind of the tone of the film. Like it's supremely messed up, but the kills are so goofy and gory and ridiculous. And just the premise itself lends itself to kind of be a movie where I had people, again, laughing in the theater. And it was fun. I mean, it's a fun movie. It's low level. Like you don't really need a brain to watch it, but you will be entertained if you like these types of, what is this thing? Is it possessed? Is it possessing people? What's the trick? And blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I thought The Monkey was pretty fun, and I'd recommend going to check that out. The next one, Nick, and you don't even have to leave your house if you have Apple TV Plus, because I know they don't promote it to anyone that doesn't have an Apple device. And I saw some people in the Instagram community kind of poo-pooing on it, but I actually thought The Gorge with Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy was pretty damn good. I mean, I enjoyed it. It's kind of like a monster movie mashed with a love story.
I have seen some stuff about this. Not necessarily positive, but I have seen.
Right, like I had a lot of people like, I mean, that's dumb as shit. But I don't know what that says about me and my wife, but we both watched it. She obviously does not tune her mind like I do, so she also said it was pretty damn good. And so I'm like, all right, I'm validated. I liked it. And like Thronkill said, Anya Taylor-Joy as a brunette. Yeah, I mean, she's a very nice looking young lady. Nova's right. I mean, Gorge is fun for direct streaming. I'm all about that. Anything Star Wars and Marvel, welcome. Hopefully you stick around. This is the Star Wars Time show, and there's always time for Star Wars time, even though we barely talk about Star Wars to start the show off. So, the Gorge, listen,
we'll get to it later.
If you got a sub to TV Plus, might as well check it out. And then last little quick one in pop culture talk. Because golf is consuming me right now, I'm watching the TGL every week. That's the new indoor league, which I wish I was there. But I decided to pick up the early. Nick will kill me. I paid $20 extra to pick up the early access version of PGA Tour 2K25 so I could play it a week early. And I honestly have not put this much time into a sports game in decades, so I'm loving it. And I know it's because I'm really juiced on golf right now, but if you like sim golf, PGA Tour 2K25 is pretty damn fun. I'm really enjoying the My Career stuff right now.
Nice.
All right. And then, Nick, you had a quick thing on Avowed, right? Because I at least want to hear about it, because I didn't even know it was coming out, and it's from Obsidian, so it's probably something I'd be interested in.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really fun game. I picked it up. I've probably played it for just about 10 hours now. And it moves quick. It sucks you in. It doesn't feel overwhelmingly large to where it's like, oh man, it's going to take me forever to do stuff. Like you can get a decent play session in for, 45 minutes to an hour. Combat feels good and challenging depending on what role you pick as your primary. I did like a mage build. I did an arcane scholar as my choice, and I'm doing like a wand and grimoire playthrough. But it's good. I mean, it feels like an Obsidian RPG. Like it doesn't feel like crazy overwhelming like some larger scale RPGs like Baldur's Gate 3 can feel like. Combat's fun. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely recommend it if you're looking for like a light RPG experience that could pull you in for 30 to 50 hours, something like that.
You're not a Dragon Age guy. Did you play Dragon Age 4, whatever it is, yet?
Veilguard? No,
Okay.
I played a bit of Inquisition when it first came out, but didn't get too heavily into that one either. Yeah, Dragon Age was one of the franchises that I never really got into that much.
I guess Avowed is on Game Pass. I canceled my Game Pass a month ago, but it's probably something when I'm ready to get back to these types of game after 2K25, I'll probably fire back up just for Indy, the game, Indiana Jones that Nick has basically blown, and then now this probably. Yeah, Bat, damn it. It got out. We are going to be taking over for Kathleen Kennedy when she steps down.
Yeah, we got the contracts
We're going to run
already.
Lucasfilm and produce at the same time like she did.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. A little pop culture talk. Now it's time to actually have some Star Wars time. You know what I mean? And we'll get into what the fans are chatting about in the live stream right now, and that is all the rumors about Miss Kathleen Kennedy. Nick, I didn't even pull up a singular article. I just went to Star Wars Leaks because I want everyone to see just how many little pops we got. Star Wars succession problems. Who's going to replace her? Sources at CNN say she's not leaving. There's nothing there right now. And then she is leaving. Who's going to take it? So who the hell knows what's going on here? Here's what I'll tell everyone. And just, as Thronkill hinted in chat, Kathleen Kennedy has been rumored to be either fired or retiring pretty much since The Last Jedi. So keep that in mind. Sometimes this is like fan manifestation type of stuff. The fact that it has been so heavily covered in a site like The Hollywood Reporter would actually credit Puck News that broke the story.
Yeah, it was in Variety too.
Yeah,
this popped up in a lot of places very quickly.
It leads me to believe that there's enough smoke now that this could be fire. But then you get this report today from Jeff Snyder, who's a Hollywood insider, and he's like, "Listen, Kathleen Kennedy, she might be stepping down from running Lucasfilm, but she's still going to be around as a producer on a few future films." He's saying he's hearing Filoni is the favorite, but no one believes he should do it alone or could do it alone. Apparently, Favreau and Feige aren't interested in all. And the last thing from Snyder, Ron Bergman, who you guys will love this, he's Ryan Johnson's producer. Apparently, he's been described as the most qualified. Other things I've read, Nick, is that Lucasfilm has done nothing to have any sort of a succession plan for her. They've not prepped anyone. She hasn't had any like direct subordinates or shadows, as they call them in the Silo series. So as usual, it sounds like Lucasfilm and Disney, ran by Bob Iger, don't really have a plan if this stuff is true. So really, here's the rumor: Kathleen Kennedy stepping down by the end of the year, running Lucasfilm. But as I just highlighted, she's probably still going to be involved doing her original role, which was producing. I'm kind of missing a lot of the chat here. I'm sure there's people that have choice words for Kathleen Kennedy, and I get it. Some of it is earned. She did bumblefuck some of this Star Wars stuff. I mean, Nick and I have both admitted this. She's announced a lot of stuff to a lot of fanfare that has kind of fallen out that makes her look bad, Lucasfilm look incompetent. Sequel trilogy was not managed appropriately, but people that want to like take her out and say she's like this piece of shit, DEI scumbag, like no. I mean, Kathleen Kennedy was handpicked by Steven Spielberg back in the day, and she did so good with him. George wanted to work with her. And you got to remember, George is the one that said, if I'm selling this shit, she's taking it over. All right. So if you love George and respect George, you have to respect his view and his choice for Miss Kennedy here. Just look at her. Look at her IMDb. I mean, she's had her hand in some of the greatest franchises on this planet.
Of all time. I mean, here's the thing: is I agree with Snyder that I don't think that I just, even in the role that Filoni's in now, I think he's struggling. Putting him in charge of the entire Lucasfilm studio, it's just not like because that's not just Star Wars, right?
Exactly.
Like there are other properties.
And you know what else that lacks, Nick? When you're running a studio, you're no longer a creative. Okay.
Yeah, it's like you're not creating now. You are now you truly are like a manager of everything, or like you're managing the entire studio in terms of like people you bring in, the budgets, all this other stuff. Like there's so many things that like people think that Kathleen Kennedy's in there writing scripts and stuff. Like she doesn't do that. Like, and neither would Dave Filoni unless he chose to, and if he had the time to. I don't know. And the thing is like, I don't even know who would want this job right now. Like
you and me. I would like take it in a heartbeat, and I think I could do just as good, if not better. And I have not been an executive yet.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, she had her hands in Jurassic Park, E.T., Gremlins,
like
Hook,
Jurassic,
Indiana
Jones, all this shit, all this stuff, like the original, all of it. Like she is a legendary producer and executive in Hollywood, and you know, the people just need to really understand the breadth of her work. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like Ron Bergman, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know whether the legitimacy of this is true or not if she steps down by the end of the year. If so, then it's going to be a real hard time for Lucasfilm if they haven't had anybody in place to like really understand what is needed to take over that role.
Yeah, and that's the problem here. And like that starts all the way with Bob Iger. I mean, everyone forgets Kathleen Kennedy was not just an executive producer of Lucasfilm. She was the fucking studio head, like C-suite type of stuff. And her boss would be Bob, and like he had no plan for her. I mean, listen, everything got fucked up with Disney Star Wars when it comes to their plan. I'm not going to say everything Disney Star Wars is terrible, like some people are popping off here. I don't believe that. I think there was plenty good that they put out, and hell, we've at least gotten some new Star Wars, which we probably never would have gotten if George kept it. It was their planning. Their planning and messaging is, I think, where she failed the most. Sequel trilogy, we'll talk about that, so I'm not going to waste breath on that, but that's definitely one of the weaknesses was their plan. But outside of that, you got to remember, I mean, Bob Iger is reviewing stuff as well. He's approving stuff or canceling stuff. So you got to kind of start pointing your lasers at anyone in C-suite over at Disney at this point in time. Yeah. I mean, we'll see where it goes. I don't expect, like, given the conflicting nature of the reports, I don't expect that there's going to be an announcement from Lucasfilm or Disney on this at all. And I don't expect her to step down at the end of this year. I just don't see it happening. Yeah, so you're thinking this is just fan manifestation. Yeah. Anytime Puck News starts as the source, again, got to be a little cautious here. So there you go. That's that. I'll believe it once we get an official tweet or post on StarWars.com. So for now, people, buckle in. KK is still running the show. All right, she's going to be bringing Andor to you in April. I think someone was in here making that point, like, hey, it seems like it's fair to shit on Kathleen, but if something hits, then she gets none of the praise. And I think that's something everyone needs to think about as a human. All right, speaking of a Lucasfilm project that Kathleen Kennedy had hands in, Andor Season 2. We kind of got a surprise trailer drop this week, Nick. We were just planning to, have our little sequel trilogy segment bit, which I will admit we are using AI to help us with topics, and it spit out the sequel trilogy. Underrated, overhated, or a total mess. I'm like, you know what? That's a pretty damn good title. So we're running with it. But like I said, we got this Andor trailer out of nowhere. So, of course, Nick and I are going to cover that. And we do everything as timely as possible. Here's the first thing about the trailer before we really get into breaking it down. Yes, it was great to get. It was fun to see some stuff. Excuse me. But Nick and I both agree, and I felt this way the moment I saw it. I do like that song that they used, that Revolution song. I do not think it matches or meshes well at all with the Andor franchise. Like it didn't quite seem to match what they were showing us outside of that Revolution, and they blow up that, him and Bix blows up the building. So I felt that was kind of odd. What I really thought was odd but made so much sense, knowing that Lord Gilroy is involved in this, is that they used 15 seconds of a minute and 30-second long trailer to essentially suck his dick.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that there were at least 3 times where it said like, you know.
No, I counted it, Nick. It's about 13 seconds.
Yeah, like critics love this series. Like there was a lot of reviews on season 1 and it was pretty weird.
Yeah, so it's just like, but it makes sense. We know who Tony is. We love Lord Gilroy. We like to have fun with him, but the guy, I believe, is a pretty extreme narcissist, and it makes total sense that he's like, hey, I mean, think about what other teaser trailer has had reviews from its first season that was 3 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing. There's not a lot of Star Wars live action shows that get season 2.
I guess
period.
what that guy is saying here is like maybe Lucasfilm was trying to get people who thought season 1 was slow to come back with the vibe of the trailer. Yeah, I don't know. Like it just seemed odd. Like that rock song, like bah, 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 cut. Yeah, dude, it's like, all right, it just. Revolution, sure, I know that's what this show's about. That's what the rebellion is, but it just, I don't know. I'm glad Nick brought it up before I even said it, because in our little pre-show meeting, he's like, dude, that music just does not work for that trailer. And I said, you know what? Kind of felt the same way the first time I watched it. So there's that. I honestly think that the most shocking news that we got, Nick, is the episode release cadence. I mean, that is insane. So I kind of want to get your thoughts behind why you think they did this. Was this a Tony thing? Was this a Disney thing? Was this a Lucasfilm thing? But for those unaware, and listen, I think this is fucking fantastic. Like someone that was already getting anxious knowing that I was going to have to cover Andor during my beach vacation, this news to me was music to my ears. And Nick, we're essentially only getting Andor season 2 for 4 weeks, and we're going to get a movie each week. So starting April 22nd, we are going to get episodes 1 through 3, which is going to cover a year of Cassian's life. April 29, we're going to get episodes 4 through 6. That's another year of Cassian's life. May 6, episodes 7 through 9, another year of Cassian's life. And then May 13th, episodes 10 through 12, literally leading up to his mission to go to that planet on that rock to essentially kill his contact from Saul. So... yeah. Why, Nick? I mean, this, in terms of like revenue streaming, this doesn't seem like a great model.
Yeah.
You could literally sign up in May and get the whole season and cancel before the month's up. Yeah. It doesn't keep Andor in the public culture, public square for too long, so you're not getting a lot of buzz generated. And it's a bit of a slog. I mean, if these are even just a half hour an episode, we're looking at 90 minute clocks every week here for 4 weeks. So
yeah,
was this Gilroy going, this is how my story has to be fucking told, eat shit? Or do you think this was a Lucasfilm thing? Like, we need to get this done. We need to get this played as soon as possible, so people don't get bored, I guess.
Yeah, here's what I'll say. I don't think that Tony is juiced enough to be able to control the release schedule of the show. I'd be surprised.
I agree.
I'd be surprised if he did. I mean, he may have suggested it. And then, you know, if you think about it in terms of how the show is structured, it being like 3 episodes per year, like makes sense in terms of the structure. I think that may be the reason why they decided to do it that way. The shitty thing is that it's 90 minutes. It's at minimum 90 minutes of TV you have to watch every week. And like, you know, like
I was thinking of you as like, this is going to fucking give Nick an ulcer.
Yeah, this sucks. Like I fucking really don't like this schedule, because like typically what we do is like, we'll watch like an hour or so, like we'll watch 2 episodes of TV and, you know, before Taylor goes to bed, and then I stay up for like an hour and a half, and then
well, there you go. Your like hour and a half is now going to be watching Andor.
Yeah, I really don't like that. But yeah, it just makes it a lot harder for anybody who's trying to keep up with the show to watch 90 minutes of
Yeah, I mean,
per week.
Listen, I know this is going to make my slog even sloggier because I'll do my own individual breakdown and video. I'll put that out before we go live every Wednesday. But like I said, the fact that I know instead of 12 weeks of doing that in a row, I only have to do it 4 weeks in a row. It's just going to be more intense. I'm that guy that's always going to eat shit early on to get a break in the end. You know what I mean? Like if I was a nurse, I'd be like, give me 3 fucking 15-hour shifts so I get the rest of the week off. That's just how I operate. And it's how I was trained. You always got to do your work before you get to play. Same thing here. So I agree with you. I'm just thinking, dude, to break down an episode of Skeleton Crew, which are usually 30 minutes, from if you include watching it to producing everything, getting all the assets you need, writing the script, recording it, all that fun shit, 7-8 hours. I'm anticipating this now is probably going to go up to about 10. 10
I will say that we need to severely cut down on the recap and review. There's no way that we can do a full 90-minute review every week for 4 weeks.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
we'll still do our 45
that shit out.
Yeah, 45 minutes to an hour. I mean, we're not going to take the whole show every week to talk about it, but since it is telling a year of his life, there's going to be you're going to get the main gist of the talking points. But I'm just dreading going through and getting screens and footage because that is going to, like I said, to get through a 30-minute episode, clipping screenshots or clips. Hour easy, so you almost triple that shit. All right, well, that's that. Let's get into some of the more interesting scenes we saw. Yeah, B-Matt, I mean, we're always excited for new Star Wars because it should juice the channel a bit again because we have now hit a lull, not really getting new subs or views on anything that's not a short. But you never know. Oh, we got a wrestling commercial pop off. Nice. Cole Cowan, they're digging it. It's 4 little movies. They also might want fans to get back in the movie mood. Yeah, I mean, who knows ultimately why they did it. I know it's going to be a lot of effort, but to me, it's worth it getting done before I leave for break and then having my summer open versus stringing 12 weeks in a row of getting up Wednesdays way before I should be up and doing this before my real job. So I'll take it, but I'm with Nick. It's going to be a lot of it's basically Star Wars through a fire hose 4 weeks straight. So, all right. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, that's what I mean. That guy. Andor was the one series so far that typically maintained at least 40 minutes an episode. So hopefully that's not the case, or we're looking at close to 2-hour movies each week, and that's going to be rough. That is going to be rough.
We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. I mean, I'm sure that Tony tried to make the length as much as he could for each one to make sure that he had time to tell what he wants to tell. But yeah, it's a heftier release schedule than
it's wild.
We're used to,
it's like,
sure.
I mean, they definitely are motivated to get it out and into the open, and I guess we'll never really know the answer. Be mad. Listen, we'd love to get Diego Luna. It just comes down to, can our network come through for us? Because without our network, we can't get big guests because we're not a big channel. So if you all know how to make us even bigger channel and have us go viral, which is just going to be, liking this stream, leaving comments on all our content, sharing all our content, that'll help. But until we're, up around the Goon, S theory, we're not getting any opportunities here. Hey there, Mando Pirate. Welcome back. Welcome back. They just had a trip to Florida, first ever Galaxy's Edge. Yeah, we'll get Gilroy.
Nice,
I would love to have Tony
nice.
Gilroy on the show. I actually think he would love us. I'm not kidding. Like, I think we're his type of people. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I don't think that we're complimentary enough.
No,
I feel like
not even the fact that we dubbed
where...
Lord Gilroy, like we gave him a title. Okay.
Yeah,
all
I
right.
think that we may not be complimentary enough for him to be okay with it. We'll see though.
Why is this?
Maybe he'll catch on
All
that
right.
we're joking and he'll hate us.
So, listen, the trailer itself, it's a good trailer because it doesn't really reveal anything. But I do feel like there are some moments, Nick, that we can talk to here that could be of interest. The first one is in the trailer, obviously, Cassian, he's a man in many coats. So, if you're in the jackets, you're definitely going to get a tour of Star Wars coats this season. But we get we got these stormtroopers coming down steps just wreaking havoc, Nick. And I think this is the exact scene we talked about a few months ago that was kind of leaked to where, it was revealed that, these people, they're just kind of hanging out in their public square. And for whatever reason, a troop, as we can see now, I mean, at least a platoon of troopers comes down and just starts, waylaying these people. So I think any of those like town square scenes with those white steps, I think that's all related. It definitely looks like all hell breaks loose. You got riot guards there. I mean, there's flames engulfing the square. This could very well be where Serial works. We see him kind of come out of an office almost. It looks like an Imperial building of sorts, and he's kind of looking at what I think is the chaos taking place in that town square. So there's that. Like we kind of got a little more insights into what that scene is going to look like. Obviously the shot we get him on Yavin, Nick. Do you think this is going to be year 3 or year 4? Like what year do you think they transition over to Yavin?
I feel like Yavin has to be getting closer towards the end of it.
Right. So like 7, 8, 9 or 10, 11, 12.
Yeah, I would say 10, 11, 12 for Yavin, because it's like Yavin is such a important part towards I guess you would say like the beginning of the OT and then the end of this era. So I would imagine that Yavin doesn't come in until the final 3-episode arc.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, he's on there. He's looking cool. It almost looks like he's up to his Rogue One gear. Not quite. I mean, he's not wearing. He doesn't have his captain insignia on there yet. But yeah, we knew they were going to make it to Yavin and the temples there. So no big deal. Nick, were they? There was 2 scenes or a few scenes where we got like kids or a family running through wheat, tall grass, troopers shooting at them. Then it looks like Cassian's kind of flying around that TIE Avenger. Could this be Lothal? You think? Because Lothal had these big fields of wheat as well. I was going
to say because it kind of even looks familiar to the Lothal that we saw in the beginning of the Ahsoka series, where Sabine's getting chased down.
Yeah.
So yeah, it could be. It could be. I mean, Lothal is obviously a planet that has a huge part in the rebellion that we learned from the Star Wars Rebels series. So it would make sense to go back there. The only thing is it's like it's hard for me to believe that Tony would do that, because he's typically not one to use other people's stuff in his show.
He won't even use planets that people used in other shows. You're kind of right. I mean, he invented Neomos and I think another planet that the prison was on. So you're not that far off.
Yeah, it's like even if the planet that he wants it already exists in the exact way that he wants it to, he'll make another planet and be like, it's not Lothal, it's this other thing that I made up.
Yeah, I got you.
So it's hard for me to believe that he'll do it.
Totally understood. But it has Lothal vibes, and
it does.
And I do think it could be related to the scene where we see him right here. I got it up on the live stream. This is clearly after he steals the TIE Avenger, which we'll talk about because we got a lot of that action. But you can see him. He's flying over this. It could be the same, field of wheat. Mm-hmm. It looks like he's taking out a troop transport. But Nick, I actually think what this whole mission is, and I'm not still sure how she might have gotten arrested. I think he's doing this to free Bix. Because if you follow the trailer, there's a scene of her fighting an Imperial officer. It looks like they're in like a blown out container, which could be the transport he just blew up. And then you see him hugging Bix outside the hall of the TIE Avenger.
And he's wearing the same outfit as well. Yeah. So it does look like it may be she got rounded up somehow, or she got arrested with a rebel cell or something like that, and he had to go free her.
Mando pirate. Mando, I don't think the wheat's Dantooine, but you're not far off on another little prediction I'm going to make here for sure.
It's Space Illinois.
Yeah. So for some reason, if he's on Lothal, he's there trying to save Bix. Maybe they both were there trying to steal the TIE Avenger. She got shackled up, and he kind of had to rescue her. Or Nick, do you think because each 3-episode block is going to be a year, could you see them let's say at the end of year, well, I guess we already watched year 1 in season 1. Let's say after the first year of Andor season 2, let's say in episode 3, Bix gets captured. Could you see them doing stuff like that where she's captured for a year and it's not resolved until episode 4, 5, 6?
I don't know if they would do that, just because I feel like he wants to make each year its own contained story.
That is true.
And it would be like, and then you also lose track of time unless they give you some sort of like update on.
Yeah, if they do ABY, people are gonna be like, "What the fuck is that?"
Yeah, like
it would be BBY, like right?
Yeah, it would be BBY because it's before the Battle of Yavin. Yeah, yeah. So I don't know if they would do that, just because then time gets a little weird to follow, right? Where it's like, okay, well, she got captured, but I know that this is supposed to be a year later. So has she been captured for a year? And now they're finally figuring out how to get her back. Like, why are they transporting her? I would imagine that he wants to try to keep it contained, but who knows?
I guess the point I'm trying to make is if we think about the structure of the show, they could do some interesting type of narratives like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, League, you're right. Bix was the one that got tortured in season 1. And as B-Mad said, there's a good chance she's probably going to get taken out by the end of the series, unless she retires herself like the clones did at the end of Bad Batch, and they just all go to Happy Land and disappear and don't stick with the rebellion, which makes no sense. But yeah, I think Bix is gone too. Hey, anything Star Wars and Marvel, thank you. We appreciate the sub. We'll check that out after the show and return the favor. So yeah, I could see Bix getting wiped out. So while we're talking about that, I think the scene of him stealing the TIE Avenger might be one of the cooler action scenes of the season. I mean, just based on this trailer, kind of looks like a mix of that breakout that Finn and Poe did in The Force Awakens. He's just blown away a hangar, and then he clearly is going to get out and about into the sky and use it and just look at, I mean, this is the first time we're getting the Avenger in live action, by the way. It looks fantastic. Mm-hmm. But I think that's going to be fun. I guess the question there, Nick, is Contra time, baby. Do you think him and Bix went, if we're thinking this, is this hangar on Lothal? He's on a different planet and he takes the Avenger to Lothal or wherever Bix was at with all the wheatgrass?
I gotta imagine that he's probably not leaving atmosphere with this. Okay. I don't think that he can steal a TIE Avenger and then just fully take it off planet and then just be like, well, This is my ship that I'm gonna bum around in the whole time. So if it is Lothal, he probably this is how it probably went. If we're assuming that he's on Lothal and then all of this takes place when and he recaptures or frees Bix, he probably knows where the troop transport is headed to and is coming from. So he infiltrates the base where it's coming from and then steals this Avenger and then meets up with it where on the route to where it's going, and then obviously does what he does and is able to free Bix from the transport en route to wherever she's being transported to. I don't think that they would have infiltrated the base together. I think that this is probably a solo infiltration by Cassian and maybe some other expendable rebellion members that may get killed along the way.
All right.
I almost feel like Tony's gonna do that a lot in this show, where it's like you just have these rebel fodder people around.
He's got burner rebels essentially.
So he can show that look, there's loss of life happening here. There's a lot of people being killed here.
And Cassian's willing to do whatever and sacrifice whoever, because that's kind of the character we meet by Rogue One. He's pretty icy vein by then.
He really is. He has no problem killing his own contact, like we saw in the beginning of Rogue One.
He was ready to shoot
no
Jin's
problem.
dad, no problem.
Yeah, he's just ready to off people. So I think that what we might see is people dying around Cassian a lot, especially when Cassian is on missions, and that he just becomes used to it.
Yeah. Do you think the Avenger is their mission, or is it a necessity to save Bix because the mission went sideways?
I think it might be that, perhaps they were trying to extract her before the transport left, and then they couldn't do it. And the next best plan was like, there's a TIE Avenger in here.
All right,
let's get this and that's why it kind of looks like it goes to shit right away. Like they didn't actually plan on how to get this thing out.
Exactly.
Here. Like,
right.
They were just like, fuck, we have to do something, grab this ship. And then it's like, oh, it's tethered. And then we got to do the whole, how do we get it off the tether thing like they did in TFA and stuff like that. So, interested to see how that plays out.
All right, then really, there's only a few more things of note here, and we'll get on to the sequels. Obviously, seeing Krennic was great. It looks like he's going to interface with Mon Mothma, which should be very, very fun. I think those scenes will be well written and acted. The Mon Mothma scene's not much, but I'm guessing she's on her home planet here, it looks like, kind of rubbing shoulders with the elite. But man, that is a very artistic looking shot. I really like the way the show's looking, which we knew it was going to look great. But really, Nick, I think the only thing of note that's worth talking about is I'm pretty sure, as Mando Pirate teased, when we see this dead, what looks like a soldier laying there in a hallway, and then the X-Wings and a transporter taking off, is this Dantooine? Is this them leaving the base that Leia told Tarkin about that got her in trouble and Alderaan blowed up?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, Dantooine, like having seen it in games, definitely looks a little bit more green and hilly, like you're seeing outside, than that like flat kind of, like more dry grass that we were seeing on what we're thinking is Lothal. So yeah, this could be. I mean, that's one thing that, kind of a throwaway line that we've never really explored again was Dantooine as the location of the Rebel base that Leia gives in Episode 4, and then Tarkin's like, well, it's too remote, so even if y'all are still there, we're just going to blow up something else.
Well, no, you remember, I mean, his subordinate's like, oh yeah, we checked it out. There was a Rebel base, but it's been deserted for quite some time. So this could be paying off on that throwaway line, which really, Andor Rogue One, it was all from a crawl, a line in a crawl.
If this really is Dantooine, I would expect this to happen earlier, within the first 2 years, and not the last 3, because of what that line was. Like, it had been abandoned,
right? And
I feel like if it was in the if Dantooine pops up in the 4th trio, the 4th year, then it's not enough time to really have it be like, oh, it's an abandoned base, right. And then also, like, you can't really have Dantooine and Yavin happening at the same time, in my opinion.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, dude, I honestly, it seems like a moment, because you see these ships taking off, you see them in hyperspace, but you don't see them coming out. And I have a feeling this shot of hyperspace, when they come out, we're going to see the red moon of Yavin. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's going to be that. So, and that was about it. Yeah, you got a little shot of K2SO, so not much you can run on there. I think these guys in the white Death Trooper armor, they seem very interesting. It looks like they're related to the ISB somehow. But it was just a bunch of quick hits, so you can't really speculate too hard outside on what we just given you. So we'll see what pans out and what else we get before April 22nd. Nick and I, before the show releases, we'll be doing our patented wants and predictions for Andor. We always list down things we want to see, hope to see, and then we talk about things that we expect or we are going to predict to see in the show. All right, so moving on to the big one here. We kind of had a special segment planned for the sequels. Are they underrated, overhated, or a total mess? And I guess just kind of kicking things off here, strengths and weaknesses. The strengths of the sequel, at least on paper, were going to be the new cast, and that was kind of piffed away. Force Awakens is the strongest of the 3. I would say Tross is the weakest. Another weak aspect of the sequel trilogy is in how they decided to tell the story between 3 different creatives and different writing teams and directors. We've said that a million times here. That was the big detriment that I think led to this being goofy. Another weakness is obviously losing Carrie Fisher. That didn't help. That led to some goofy shit in Tross. But listen, I mean, I can't say the sequel trilogy is is overrated. I would agree it might be slightly underrated, but that's even hard for me to say. I can definitely agree it is an overhated trilogy. I think the hate is a bit misplaced. It's not necessarily directed at actual narrative. It's more at, well, hey, there's a woman that's powerful. That can't be, and stuff like that. In terms of a total mess, Nick, I think you could argue there's a little bit of that, especially with 8 and 9 being the biggest mess in my opinion there. So,
yeah.
I mean, any other like strengths and weaknesses that for the trilogy as a whole?
Here's what I'll say. In my opinion, the trilogy as a whole suffers the most between 8 and 9.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of what you think about TLJ, and I'll just say that like TLJ is not my favorite Star Wars movie. I think that there are good elements in it. I think that in terms of like filmmaking prowess, I think that it is probably one of the best of the three. But I do think that the primary issues are between 8 and 9. And it's because there's just a lot of untold story that lies between 8 and 9. And I think that realistically, you could probably fill those gaps in a way similar to what Clone Wars did, and then make that trilogy much more palatable.
Let's not get to your fix yet, but yeah.
Yeah, not yet. But that's ultimately like the problems that lie within the prequel or in the sequel trilogy, and people won't remember this, or if you just live in denial, then whatever. Or you're not old enough, then you don't know. But like this is the like what's happening now with the sequel trilogy, same shit that happened with the prequel trilogy. Same shit, like literally the same thing. And ultimately what it needs is stitching. It needs stitching. Right. I don't think that there's a huge problem between 7 and 8. Like, was it narrative that I expected to see in 8? To link to 7, no, not necessarily. But I don't think that there are irrevocable issues between 7 and 8.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it literally it took place 10 minutes after the first one ended.
I think that like if there was one overall piece of feedback that I would give on the sequel trilogy is that it didn't. There's not enough time between each movie. I think that when you are able to,
and by the way, they let Ryan do that. Ryan's the one who's like, I want to pick up and see what happened between Luke and Rey. I mean, he's the one who's like, I'm going to do this. We're not going to have time.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like I agree with that. I mean, well, I was talking about, I agree with the thing that you just put up. It is relatively derivative of the sequels. Or of the OT, which is fine with me. I don't care. Like every fucking movie that comes out now is derivative of something else. Like saying that it's derivative, it's just like it's a critique on the entire movie industry. It's not a critique on Star Wars in general. But like I think that they should have let each movie breathe, and I think that like having that immediacy between 7 and 8 was a hindrance to it because you didn't allow character growth to happen off screen. And I think that that's a lot of what made the OT strong is that when you would come back to a movie,
great point here.
It would like, you would come back to a movie and the characters had matured and you're like, oh wow, they're different than the last time that I saw them.
Yeah. You know, I never thought about that way, Nick. And it's a great point. Cause like, if you look at Luke and Rey, they're the same character, but people still don't believe me. But because there was a few years between A New Hope and Empire, we just were like, all right, yeah, Luke got better. Luke was practicing. Yeah. It made sense that's why Rey gets shortchanged because like, oh, she barely even fucking trained anything. And I never really thought about the way you just portrayed there. This is why Nick makes the big bucks at SWTS.
Hey, but yeah, I mean, I think that it helps, especially when the expectation is that you're probably going to tell stories in between these movies. I mean, it happens all the fucking time. Like there are stories told in between the OT now.
Yeah, look what the comic books are doing.
Yeah, like the comic books. Even like, you know, there's shit out there in between every movie that exists. And I feel like when you give yourself so little time in between 7 and 8, you just don't leave any room for narrative to be told and for character growth to happen off screen, which is huge. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is obviously you didn't have, like we already talked about before, but like it just not having, I don't care if you have 3 different people work on it or 3 different writers work on it, just get them all in a room.
Yeah.
Like just put them, like have a writer's room and just be like, hey guys, like, you know, you guys are all working on this together. Let's build this story together, even though you're writing 3 different parts of it. I think that collaboration between the teams.
Yeah. I mean,
needed.
I know. Hold on. No throat booger. I've been getting these all day. Whatever. I just deleted that thought. So yeah, I mean, that definitely was. I agree. I think that's one of the big weaknesses was the writers and creatives were not together in the same room, or if they would, they were all sitting there like, I don't give a shit what JJ's saying. I'm still going to do what I want, and they're going to let me. It should have been.
It almost did seem like it was a little bit of that.
Hell yeah, it was
as well.
Hell yeah,
like
it was.
In 8, like I'm not saying I have nothing against Rian Johnson or his writing partner or his producer, anything like that. But I do feel like they went in, and this is how it was built. Like they went in with an idea of a story that they wanted to tell as a middle piece to it, and didn't really take into account what was told in the first one.
And that's like, I mean, that is to me the biggest weakness of the sequel trilogy is that there was just no collusion between the creatives. They're all just kind of like, hey, fuck it, it's a trilogy. You can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter if you're paying off on what was set up before or setting up stuff to be paid after what comes after. Who cares? We're all here to have a good time and express our creative freedom. And it doesn't work. And like Wesley McNair's saying here in the live stream, going through the new trilogy recently, there's such a strange shift from TLJ and Rise of Skywalker. And it is. It's just like, it doesn't, that's where you really lose any sort of cohesion that this trilogy had. Like Nick said, the biggest problem is 8 to 9. And it just, it's all fucked up. And part of it is because Carrie died. And I know, I mean, that was massive.
You can't really.
Massive. She was supposed to be a major player, like a major player in episode 9.
Yeah.
But the whole, again, because I think Ryan's like, fuck Snoke. I'm killing him. They didn't have a plan. Like, there was no plan. What do you do when you kill the big bad? It's like Kylo should have ascended, but they're like, nah, let's bring in Palpatine, and that just ruined everything.
Yeah, I think here's the thing. The only good thing about there being time between 8 and 9 is that there's time for you to tell story to fix it. I mean, that's essentially what happened between 2 and 3 in the prequels. Like, there was a lot of time that passed between 2 and 3, and it gave you all that time to tell those stories, to really fill in the gaps with Anakin Skywalker and his disillusionment with the Jedi Order that was building, and everything else that happened in between those 2 movies, to really make you understand, like, okay, he didn't just fall to the dark side because his wife's pregnant and he's afraid. Like, there was a lot of shit that happened in that interim period.
Thank you, Clone Wars.
Thank you, Clone Wars, and thank you to Dave and George for building that out. Like, and like, that is what really makes sense more than just ROTS as a whole, is like when you factor in Clone Wars and you factor in Ahsoka and you factor in all this shit that was happening during that Clone Wars time period, it really makes a lot more sense as to like, oh wow, this Jedi who is the chosen one didn't just fall in a 1 month period of time because he found out his wife's pregnant and then he had bad dreams. Like, there was a lot of shit that led up to that.
Apparently, Nick, for people that are younger than me, they got all that they needed in Revenge of the Sith to justify Anakin's turn, and I've just given up fighting them. So I'm just like, all right, fine. I agree with you. I agree with you. So much so that I may even go see it on April 25th when it re-releases for its 20th anniversary or whatever.
20th anniversary. But yeah, I mean, look, we have like the deadest horse in the galaxy is the sequel trilogy horse. Like,
so there you go. We laid out the strengths and weaknesses, a lot more weaknesses than strengths. I think it definitely started out with the right intention. I think TFA is a very strong movie. TLJ, I'm not as down on it as most, but I definitely take umbrage with some things. I love what they were doing with Rey, and I wish we stayed on that path. You know, Rey from nowhere was my Rey. And then JJ fucked all that up. But you could also argue then Ryan kind of fucks up some Luke stuff. So, you know, what's worse, taking Luke, who's a legend, and kind of portraying him in a way that shocked some people, or taking your new lead in essentially just saying, hey, you know what? The only way to be special in Star Wars is if you have godlike blood, which just was stupid. So moving on here, we're staying with the segment. So a part of what we asked our channel members, we'd love for you if you want to join. We got memberships as low as $1.99 a month, and we try to add and layer in some perks for the show. So Nick, we did ask fans, like, hey, who was your favorite new character from the sequel? And sadly, we only had 3 votes, but it was enough to have a 3-way tie. So our members have chosen Rey, Kylo, and Finn. Poe got a big dump on his chest. So there you go. That's who the fans picked. So before we get into the part of this segment where young Nick is going to pitch a fix for the sequel trilogy, we did want to revisit some of the major changes that were made to the sequel based on the scripts that George sent to Disney as part of the deal. We're not going to spend a ton of time on these. Some of you may know this was going to happen. Some of this may be new to you. So this could have some fun. Listen, I liked Luke being human too, and I understood him taking himself off the map, just like his masters did. What I didn't understand was him being a shithead to Chewbacca and Rey. Like that's just not how he would behave. But anyway, so here we go. So these are some things we'll just talk about. Like, would we have liked to see this, or was the direction they took better? So the first one for you, Nick, Lucas did not want a solo child to fall to the dark side if he did the sequels. So he was never down with the whole, Jason and all that type of shit. Again, he never really believed in the books in the first place. So the creator himself did not want a Solo to fall, but we did get one. So what do you think, Nick? Would you prefer not to have a Solo fall, or did you like Kylo's arc?
I liked Kylo's arc, and I think that, and there's. It'd probably be unpopular for me to say this now. I think that bringing Maul back as the villain for the sequel trilogy is just a bad idea.
Well, don't worry. You're getting ahead of things. That's one of our points to talk about. So stick to this one here. What do you think about bad Solos or not bad Solos?
I am a fan of the Kylo turning to the dark side thing.
Okay. It'd just been better if, Rey was his sister. I think that's what Nick and I wrote way back when, before episode 8 came out. But
I think that.
All right, here you go.
It would have been
since you wanted to jump on this, and I actually would have loved this because the way they were taking the villains, and we're going to talk about that too. But if you didn't know, Darth Maul was supposed to be the big bad of the sequel trilogy, and he would not have been helming a remnant empire. He would have taken over the criminal syndicate, and it was going to be the criminal syndicates that the New Republic had to deal with and the galaxy had to deal with, and all that unruly shit, versus essentially the just Empire 2.0. But Maul, we already heard Nick's like, screw that guy. You did not want Maul to be the big bad, right?
I mean, like, at this point, and here's the thing, is like, we've had a lot of storytelling with Maul up to this point, and I think that most of it's been pretty good, and
they did kill him in Rebels, so this technically wouldn't have worked. But Rebels was a Disney thing, so there's that. Yeah,
so I mean, that's the problem with it now, is it's very hard to just imagine that happening, considering how much storytelling has already happened with Maul. So like, you would essentially have to delete season 7 of the Clone Wars. You would have to delete. No,
Clone Wars, everything's good up until his death in Rebels. Like, everything would check out until his death.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because he did go on to lead the criminal syndicates, right? He was running Crimson Dawn, kind of had the pikes fall in line. So he would have essentially, it would have been Darth Maul, former Sith, dark side user, literally king of the crime syndicates, taking on Leia in the New Republic.
Yeah, I don't know. It just feels weird to me.
All right, fair enough. I would take them. Like, if you want my opinion, people, more Maul, fine. Let's do it. I don't care. I mean, it is Star Wars after all. No one's ever truly gone. As I said here, Lucas's sequels would have focused on on crime and the crime syndicates taking advantage of the Empire being vanquished and the New Republic trying to reassert its authority. So there was not going to be a resurgent Empire. The First Order wasn't a thing. It was going to be the crime syndicates led by Maul through his work we saw throughout the Clone Wars and Rebels. So I guess I'll go on this one. It would have been nice to get away from Stormtroopers and essentially Empire 2.0. I mean, I will admit that was one of the lazier things the sequels relied on. It was like, hey, fuck it. Literally, it's just the Empire, except they look 40 years more modern. Kind of like how car models go from being boxy to more rounded in time.
Yeah, I mean, the crime side of it, I guess it would be interesting. I guess my
we're always
question,
bitching like it's always Empire versus Rebels. So here it is, Nick. We're getting another bad guy.
But that's the thing is like he's like, but it's crime this time, but it's still big bad organization versus big good organization. Like you're not changing anything.
So, yeah, Nick wants the aliens. Like he wants the Yuzon, right, or the Chiss coming.
Yeah,
in.
it's like that's the problem is like him saying like, but it's crime, not an empire. It's literally a criminal empire. Like that's the only difference. So and then it's led by a Sith bad guy. So how is it any different than an empire? Like, so
they don't have stormtroopers. That's the difference.
Like I understand
or Star Destroyers. That's the difference.
Yeah, they just have all of their other ships that can blow shit up that don't look triangular.
They don't have planet crackers,
circular.
Nick. They're gonna take over your world one shakedown at a time. You know, they're gonna be going down Coruscant to Luthen Shop like, yo, give me your VIG. It's time to pay up.
I guess like that's my question there is it's like, okay, well, for a criminal organization to be large enough to actually fight in a meaningful way against an actual galaxy-wide government, you are basically just an empire. And especially now that you have a Sith at the head of it, like what's the real difference?
Okay. All right.
Like that's what I don't get.
Nick right now, he's like, screw George, Disney all the way. All right, next one here. Princess Leia would have been leading the galaxy, not just some bullshit ragtag resistance movement.
Yeah, I think that like, I mean, essentially she was until they
kicked her out because remember she was the Ministry of Defense and she wanted to have a war machine.
She's like, we have to stand up against the First Order and nobody wanted to. So basically, she was in the role that George wanted her in, but because she wanted to stand up, he was kind of
shooting her for Supreme Chancellor, like what Mothma is.
So he was going to do another Chancellorhood again. See, that does not track to me for Leia. Like that doesn't track to me for Leia.
She was in politics up until she had the fight.
But Leia was never the person that I feel like wanted to be Chancellor. Like Leia felt like the one who wanted to be in your fucking face, like being the person who is standing up against injustice and everything like that. I think that Chancellor is way too much of a soft role for her.
Well, here's where I'll challenge you on that.
Were in Star Wars,
and just because it shows you how wonky the trilogy really is. I would say yes in TFA because she's literally dressed like a military leader, but then out of nowhere in TLJ, she's wearing like gowns like Mon Mothma.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that looks Supreme Chancellorly and not generally. So
yeah, it's just more of her demeanor. Like her demeanor is much more not of a chancellor.
She would have been she would have been a chancellor of the people.
I don't know.
She'd been like Barack, you know what I mean? She'd been like an Obama.
Maybe so.
And then after that, they would have voted back in Sheev Palpatine's son.
Yeah, then say Palpatine would have.
Yeah, like it's too much of this progressive shit. It's time to get back to some hardcore conservatism. All right, so Nick doesn't like that either. How about this one? Luke would have successfully rebuilt the Jedi.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. Which then also brings into question, how does a resurgent Jedi Order with over 100 Jedi in it lose to a bunch of ragtag criminal losers under one Sith directive who's already been beaten by multiple Jedi?
Well, maybe Luke, remember, he learned a lesson. He's like, my Jedi are not generals. We're not coming to fight your war for you. We are just keepers of the peace, Nick.
Yeah, it's bullshit. Like, here's the thing. It's like, and I know that Darth Talon's coming into it too, but it's like, so now what you have is two Sith that are that are literally running an empire of criminals that are disorganized and that are definitely not falling in line under you, because that's what fucking criminal syndicates do. Like, criminal syndicates are built off of somebody stabbing somebody else in the back, which is very similar to the Sith, granted, versus a fully rebuilt Jedi Order and a war machine that the New Republic has. Look, this is straight from George's mouth. I'm just saying what he's
Luke's
saying.
New Order, Nick. They didn't even use weapons. Okay, they were basically Buddhist monks. They just sat around and what's that thing called that Homeboy did in the Acolyte? What's that? They took the Barash vow.
The Barash vow, yeah. Or they only fought with brooms.
How
like the
sweet
kid
would that be?
The end of TL.
If you're like, yo, Luke, we need your help, and no one's answering, and they cut to a shot of Luke's temple, and all the motherfuckers are just levitating, completely tuned out to the world. Like, no, we just need to kind of keep ourselves in our meditative states. Yeah. Well, if anything, you would have actually got a Jedi Master Luke that might have done something outside of drink green titty milk, as they're saying in the chat there.
Yeah. Yeah,
but yeah, I don't think I don't think
Jedi
he would have made them
soldiers.
I really think he would have tried to get back to.
So here's the thing: when a huge force pops up and there's two Sith at the head of it, Luke's gonna be like, "Well, you guys fucking deal with it, bro."
It's what he did in the sequel trilogy, dude.
You guys deal with it. But he did that because he didn't have anybody else. He had lost his entire order.
Yeah.
He was like, I fucked up so bad. But he has a Jedi order of over 100 Jedi.
Yeah, he's doing the same thing. He's packing up. He's like, feats don't fail me now. He's taking off to Acto by himself. He's like, screw you
There's
guys.
There's a fight happening. Yeah. Guess what? The Jedi don't fight. See ya.
Yeah. Darth Maul's back. He just runs away. All right. Man. Here we go. Here's another one that I know Nick's going to like. Lucas's sequels would have featured 50 to 100 Order 66 survivors, which honestly we're basically at this point in time. So
yeah, I mean 50 to 100. Or this is exactly what. So you have a legitimately large Jedi Order at this point. You have 100 Order 66 survivors plus whoever Luke has trained. And you're trying to tell me you have 3 movies worth of fighting versus Darth Maul, Talon, and some random criminals?
Hanging out on Tython having kumbaya.
And some random criminals? Man, I can see why they maybe didn't make these scripts.
Yeah, so there you go. So we would have had Luke's order would have essentially been given to him. They would have.
Yeah, he's like, here you go.
They're like, oh
here's
shit,
100. Here's 100 seated Jedi that you don't even need to train.
His last name's Skywalker. He's calling himself a Jedi Knight. Maybe we should go talk to him and come out of hiding, even though we just sat here and watched the Empire decimate the galaxy for 20 years. Okay, so yeah, they're that. I thought that one was quite silly myself. This one I love. Lucas planned to explore midichlorians deeper, which have now been turned into M count and basically completely ignored in new canon. So would you wanted to do like an inner space tour of a Jedi's body and see the midichlorians kind of floating in their blood?
Do it like Body Wars from Disney back in the day. If anybody remembers Body Wars back from Disney. I mean, look, to a degree, it's already being re-explored anyway. They just changed the name of it. It's M Count now, like you said. M Count's being explored through multiple different TV properties. It was
first in Mando, but didn't it pop up in something else?
Yeah, it popped up in Acolyte, and all the other ones. So like, it's already like midichlorians are back. It's just they've changed the name of them. It's M Count now. So I mean, like to a degree, they're already doing this. I don't like how much exploration, I guess, would be the question.
I mean, he invented them and went hard, so it probably would have been way deeper than any fan would have probably wanted. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I mean, he dedicated multiple scenes to midichlorians and TPM.
Yeah. BMAD saying here is like, I see Maul using the Sith holocron to turn the criminal syndicate into a Sith army. I don't know if you know how Sith holocrons work, though, BMAD, because like, you don't just turn on a holocron and then it turns people evil. Like it doesn't like give people force abilities or anything like that. Like like Ezra was driven mad by it because he was hearing voices, because he was Force sensitive, and he was in the proximity of that thing. But you can't just put a Sith holocron in front of random ass dudes and then it just turns them into Sith.
Hey,
like that's not how those things
don't
work.
Don't tweak his tits, okay? You can tell he's upset. All right, you can tell this is upsetting Nick. Don't twist him.
It's just not how those things work.
All right. Number 3, and this one I know the chat, I think Anywhere brought this up, but and you know, I'm a creep. I would have loved this just for the visuals alone, but with Maul coming back and resuming the title of Darth, he would have taken an apprentice, and the apprentice was going to be lovely and sexy looking Darth Talon. If you don't know who it is, we got her up on the live stream right now, but she is a red Twi'lek with black tattoos, so I don't know if she did that to honor Maul or that's just what she liked to look like, but she essentially wears a bikini.
Yeah. I mean, I'm familiar with Talon because Talon was also in the Jedi Academy games. So familiar with that character. I think that if you're going to bring somebody back or bring somebody in to be an apprentice to Maul, that's a cool character to do it with. Yeah,
they would have looked great together. I mean, they should have just became a power couple at that point. I mean, they just vibe too well, just on visuals alone.
They fit very well together for sure.
All right.
So, I'd be all for that.
Another one here. There might have been a stormtrooper rebellion. So remember, the Empire's gone, crime syndicate's taken over, but they're talking here where George would have had a sect of stormtroopers that kind of tried to have like an insurgency or almost like a civil war.
So a remnant empire.
Sort of, but they probably wouldn't have had new gear. They probably would have been wearing all their old shit. You know what I mean?
Their old stuff, yeah. I guess like given the narrative thus far, I mean, you have to read all the scripts and stuff like that, but it's hard for me to imagine where this fits in, or like where these people have been for. I don't know. Like also, like how long is this taking place after the?
B-Man just called you out. He said in Rebels, the holocron said it could be used for eliminating all of their enemies. But okay, I'll stop.
Yeah, who said that? It could be used to eliminate all of our enemies.
Not build an
by
army,
somebody who who doesn't.
Hey, B-Man, I warned you. Like what? I warned you. You keep poking the bear. What are you doing?
But but like. A Sith holocron it doesn't turn people into
let's get off
monsters.
the Sith holocron and back to the Stormtrooper rebellion.
I don't know where it would fit in, but I also I don't have access to these scripts to read them.
Would they team up with the crime syndicate, you think, or would they be a third party kind of?
That's my real question is like, where does it fit in between the battle between
we love George though. I mean, come on.
Between the non-empire crime syndicate that's run by 2 Sith.
Yeah.
And is this just like, is this like the middle movie? And it's like, somehow stormtroopers have returned.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, like that guy's saying that they'd be similar to like the remnant that we've seen in the Mandoverse era.
Yeah, so it's like a remnant. The remnant empire is still kicking around somewhere, and they're like, we want to fight too.
And the last one, and this one I know, I mean, he is the creator, he's the maker, he can do what he wants, but Nick, he was going to introduce Sith Force Ghosts in the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, Sith Force Ghosts were around in the books and stuff like that. They functioned a little bit differently than the Force. I mean, like Sith Force Ghosts also existed in, I believe, Rebels, they had a Sith Force Ghost that they encountered at some point. Or maybe that was in a comic book thread. I mean, Sith Force Ghosts would have been cool. The wrinkle on them was like Jedi Force Ghosts could essentially follow you around wherever you went, and then a Sith Force Ghost was essentially locked to either
like an artifact, right?
An artifact that they were able to attach themselves to, or where they died. So they were very localized. So you couldn't just have
what the hell ghosts would we be talking to in this? What fucking Palpatine? Like what would we?
I would say it's like Palpatine's Force Ghost, because really, like in Star Wars
Maul
proper,
talk to Bane or Malak or like, those types. Yeah,
because I mean, if George wasn't a huge fan of like the books and stuff like that, he probably wouldn't have incorporated Bane because Bane was only in a book. And then I don't know what his Revan thoughts were.
That was in the Lost season of Clone Wars, so I don't know if that was him or that was Disney at that point.
Yeah, because that was the Netflix season. I'm not sure.
All right. So there you go. And we got a little bit of time left, like next 5-10 minutes. Nick's got a pitch for the sequel trilogy to fix it. So I got a nice little graphic here. If everyone remembers the Galaxy of Adventure series, they were pretty damn cool, like the animation. So we've got our sequel trilogy heroes animated that way on the live stream for Nick's pitch, Nick. So real quickly, I'll let him run with it. But just like the Clone Wars for people like me did to the prequel trilogy, Nick has a similar idea for the sequel trilogy.
Yes. So basically what the idea is, it's an animated show that sits between 8 and 9 because that is the area that gives you enough time. And it would be a dual perspective show. So kind of different from Clone Wars, where Clone Wars is really only focusing on or is primarily focusing on the Anakin Obi-Wan storyline. This show would be dual perspective. So you would follow the dark side and you would follow the resistance side of it. And basically the questions that need to be answered between 8 and 9 are, how did the resistance build their numbers back up? Because essentially at the end of episode 8, there's only 14 people in the resistance left. They all fit on one ship.
Yep.
So you have to answer that question. You have to answer the question of Rey's training. You have to answer the question of Palpatine's return.
That's the big one.
Yeah. So those are your 3 storylines from the perspective of the Resistance that you're going to follow throughout a multi-season show. Ideally, it would be a multi-season show. And then on the Imperial or on the First Order side, it is the power struggle between like the rise of Kylo Ren to leadership on the First Order side, and then the internal like power struggles between like Hux and the other leaders of the First Order, pushing against Kylo's immediate rise to leadership, and then also Kylo struggling with his mental side, like the mental side that he's always struggled with. Like now that he has assumed leadership of the First Order, you would assume that like he's now overcome the hump that his grandfather couldn't overcome. So he's all good, right? But he still has those mental struggles. And through that mental struggle, he starts to understand that like maybe these voices that he's hearing are coming from somewhere else. So like also starting to dip into the like the Palpatine side of things. So essentially what my thoughts were was you have a storyline where the Resistance is literally doing grassroots type of things where they're finding out about injustices that are being that are unfolding on certain planets, and they're going to it and they're helping those pockets of resistance on different planets fight against the First Order. And in that, they're building their numbers back up. They're showing the galaxy while the resistance may be diminished, there are still people out there who are fighting on the side of good and against the First Order. So you have that storyline on the resistance side. That would primarily be like Finn and Poe's side of the story, where they are on like boots on the ground doing like grassroots rebuilding of the resistance, and then getting in contact with these people through Leia and others to really rebuild these numbers. Then you have the Rey and Leia side of the story, where it is really delving into her training, and like her understanding the texts, like obviously we saw something from the old Jedi that she's training with, and training with Leia, and really seeing how Leia has matured as a Jedi over that period of time while she was going through training with Luke. And then also seeing Rey actually training and learning and becoming the Jedi that she needs to be. So having like focus on the training side of things, and then the side of it that would be that would probably take up a larger part of the resistance side of it is a new character that is tasked with investigating Snoke, because Snoke essentially came out of nowhere in the galaxy. Like, obviously we now know that he is a clone, but this guy essentially just came into the galaxy, seduced Han and Leia's only son away from them to the dark side, and then was summarily killed within a relatively short amount of time. Like, this dude literally came out of nowhere, took over the First Order, took over Ben Solo. So now that he's dead, Leia would task somebody with, like, we need to find out where this Snoke guy came from and see if there's any more dark side presence that's still out there that may resurface into the galaxy. So she would task like a resistance operative or some sort of like spy-like character with investigating Snoke's origins, and then through that, they would essentially uncover the Palpatine plot slowly. Like, they would start off by being like, all right, let me find out as much about Snoke as I can, and then essentially run into a brick wall and be like, why can't I find out any more about this guy? He just came out of nowhere. Then they would start to figure out stuff about the cloning. Then they would find out about Project Necromancer. Then they would find out about cloning facilities, go there and start to do research on these derelict cloning facilities that aren't being used anymore. Then from there, like, there's so many threads and plots that they can follow. Like, they find out about the unknown regions through these cloning facilities that are no longer being used.
Yeah. So it lessens the blow of somehow
regions.
Palpatine returned is
yeah,
ultimately...
So like, essentially through this, you're getting to that. And by the end of the show, this character finds out about Exegol and finds out that Palpatine is still alive. But before they're able to communicate this to the Resistance, they're either killed by some sort of Sith, like one of the
acolytes that were there.
Yeah, like one of the acolytes, like maybe they made their way into the unknown regions, or like they were pushing into Palpatine territory and they get killed by a Sith acolyte. So like this, to me, if you're able to tell a story like that, you could even leave out the Rey training side of it. But if you had a show that could really dive into somebody who is learning about the origins of Snoke and then falls into the Palpatine plot through all of the breadcrumbs that have been left over time, that would fill in all the gaps that you need between 8 and 9 to make it make sense.
Yeah, to justify the fortnight reveal of Palpatine returning to the galaxy. I saw one of you in here, they're like, that somehow Palpatine return seemed like it was something they saw on Twitter. It was literally... It was done in Fortnite. Like, we're not kidding.
It was like the actual Palpatine reveal happened in Fortnite, which is so fucked up. And that's why you could do, like, with a show like that, you could do it in such a way that like it makes sense by the time you finish the show and you watch episode 9. You're like, okay, like, you're uncovering these plot points with this character along the way. And like, yeah, ultimately, or if you've seen the movies, like, that Palpatine's coming back, but it makes way more sense if you're following a character that is uncovering this in real time. And I feel like a show that told this type of story would just make so much more sense. It would make so much more sense. And then you could go into like leaks that you could go into Knights of Ren stuff with Kylo, and like you could really span those guys a little bit more. Yeah. So.
Yeah, man. I know you and we talked about this offline. I've talked about it in ad nauseum about how the Clone Wars, to me, really helped settle the prequels for my mind. All right, I'm older than a lot of you. When I saw the prequels, kind of like how some of you, when you're watching some of this Disney stuff, it's just not what you were expecting. It kind of bums you out and puts a bad taste in your mouth. And didn't really like it for a long time, but the Clone Wars, through those 7 seasons, with, obviously season 7 being the cherry on top, it really helped to fill in the gaps that my brain needed to go, yes, I 100% see how this man, dubbed the Chosen One, could do what he did. All right. I still don't believe the 3 movies tell that story very well, but the Clone Wars fixed that for me. I now am much more tolerant of the prequels. They don't get me as upset as they really don't get me upset at all. I've completely gotten over all my prequel agita because of the Clone Wars. And that's what Nick was pitching right here for the sequel trilogy. Let's fill in that between 8 and 9 gap to really add some meat to the narrative bone that this Palpatine character returned. And I think it would, for a lot of people like myself, it probably would help make the sequel trilogy as a whole a bit more palatable.
Yeah. I mean, it's an easy win. Like, they need a new animated show. Star Wars from when?
Do you know it's going to be clone based? You know it is.
I know it is, and I'm going to fucking hate it, man. Like, I love the characters of the clones. I really do. But they've they've played this fiddle for so long that the strings are popping.
No, I agree. I think their last shot was Bad Batch, and they bumbled that, in my opinion, for like really putting a nice little stamp on the named clones stories. But oh well. All right. Yeah. Well, there you go. So great pitch there by Nick. Will it ever happen? Probably not. It seems Disney is anti their own era these days for whatever reason. They want to keep going back to the Skywalker well.
Dave Filoni, I know that you're really scared to work with characters that you did not make yourself. Give this a fucking shot, guy. If you're taking over Lucasfilm, you're gonna need to do some stuff that you haven't done before. You're gonna need to create new characters again. Give this a shot. Yeah. There's a lot of meat on that bone between episodes 8 and 9. Let's fucking see. Make it happen.
I do feel like the sequel trilogy needs its Band-Aid like the prequels. So we can only hope for the best. But like I just said, they seem to have abandoned a lot of the sequel era and the ideas that they wanted to run with. And they were just back Mandoverse, kind of Skywalker-y. But oh well. Guess if it works, it works. I just don't understand why you go on big press tours like, this is the end of the Skywalkers, the Rise of Skywalker, this is it. And then, no, it's not. Let's put Luke in this, Luke in that, Luke here, Leia there. So, oh well. Well, there you go. We got one little thing left for the fans for this segment. You know, we asked them what is a pitch they have to potentially massage the sequel trilogy. These went to our channel members only. Beast Mobile, our man B Mad up in here, he said, keep Rey from being related to anyone. Yes. She's just a scrapper from nowhere that becomes a Jedi. Also let the story flesh Finn's Force abilities out more, and no space flying Leia. If Leia had died there, it would have been way more impactful. Last but not least, either remove Palp from the story and have Kylo remain as primary villain, or give more lore and storytelling to Palp's return as a teaser in each film until his return. So kind of what Nick was hitting on there. But I'm with B-Mad on Rey should have been a no-win. I didn't get so upset about Space Leia. I mean, she's a Skywalker. She can do whatever she wants. Yeah. So there you go from Beast. And then League was the only other member that jumped in on this. And she said the most obvious is remove Palpatine from the trilogy altogether. I would continue with The Last Jedi and what it was trying to achieve. Yes, I agree. Palpatine was the death nail in this trilogy.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I agree that removing Palpatine is the easiest way to do it. We're stuck with it. But I even think that like B-Mat said, if you're going to do it, just lead up to it more. Like, just give more context to it. You could do it and do it well, but you have to plan to do it. That's the problem.
Yeah. You got to have a plan. Got to let the creatives talk to each other and make sure everything's cohesive and narratives cascade into subsequent stories. All right. Well, that was fun. A little fixing the sequels. We did it. They're fixed. We just need Nick's pitch to be greenlit and the budget to be unleashed. All right, we're going to wrap up this episode of SWTS with our we've been talking too much. The burps are coming out with our fan segment. We do it every week. We have a question of the week responses, which you can get through our socials. Again, IG, YouTube, Discord. Just look for the prompt answer, and you're more than likely going to get featured on the show. So luckily, because we are running tight, we don't have a lot of responses this week. We just asked the fans what they were thinking about the Andor trailer here, Nick. So take it away. Not many to riff off of this time.
Yeah, only a few. So we got Augie Bin Doggy. I believe that this was their first ever response. Just says hard pass.
All right.
Hard pass.
Like Nick, they did not like the music of the trailer.
The music was just wild to me. Boozy Manchild. Boozy's been around in the Star Wars Time Show.
Still like
for a while,
top 10 Hall of Fame handle for sure.
Love it. Love it. He says, looks absolutely amazing. Very classy trailer with cool use of music. The shot with the maskless troopers got me. Thought that looked awesome. The schedule seems interesting and I'm all for it. Can't watch you guys live, unfortunately, due to the time difference, but always enjoy listening later on. Hope you're both doing great. Well,
is Boozy across the seas? Is he an Aussie or what's going on?
Yeah, obviously he may be on the other side of the world, which is the best place to be now.
Hey, those helmetless troopers, did they not look like Death Troopers? Like that's not standard trooper armor.
Their armor, the armor was a little bit different than standard.
Could this be like the
potential
genesis of the Death Troopers? Maybe
it could be because Krennic,
they showed up for the first time in Rogue One as like his vanguard
in the beginning of Rogue One. Yeah, so maybe he's like he tested them out in a white uniform.
Then spray paints
he's like,
them.
Nah, it just doesn't look good. He's like, we need something a little bit more
fashion show.
Yeah, we got to get it going. And then the final one here, 2797 Studios says, love the vibe of the trailer and super excited for the show. I don't mind the schedule as long as the episodes have some meat to them. If it's 3 20-minute episodes, I'll be disappointed.
That's what Nick wants.
I doubt that it's just the night, like it's gonna be more than 90 minutes per week, and that's just that it's a lot because I don't have a lot of TV time. But yeah,
didn't Cassian fight Death Troopers in the maybe, I don't know, I'd have to go back to it. I can't remember.
Did he fight Death Troopers in Rogue One or in season 1? I'm not. That's a good question. I'm not 100% sure. I can't.
They might have been on Ferrix there. I really can't remember. It's been a minute. I might have to go check in on that. It's a good question, that guy.
There were different trooper types. There were like flame troopers,
right?
And,
well, they also had like regular officers in black like riot armor too, right?
Yeah. I don't know if Death Troopers were there because the rise up on Ferrix wasn't like they didn't send in a bunch of like troopers. Right. That was just like the people who were stationed on Ferrix already that they rose up against. And I don't think that they would have had Death Troopers just stationed there, but I could be wrong. But yeah, so anyway, that's the question of the week. Thank you everybody for participating as usual. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at StarWarsTime.show. That is where we post our question of the week. All you got to do is respond to the post, send us a story reply as well. You can do that. Now we're moving into the top 5 Star Wars fan artist features of the week to get involved. Again, Instagram at StarWarsTime.show. Add tag at StarWarsTime.show on all of your Star Wars Instagram posts. That's how you fall into our tagged feed. And that's where I pull the top 5 from.
Bango.
So let's get to it. First up, we got Dr_R2D2. Dr. R2D2, I believe this is your first ever feature in the top
Welcome
5.
To the club.
And they have given us an awesome Mando and Grogu shot here. I like how we still refer, like we know his name is Din. I never call him. I just always say Mando. Yeah. Even though
I think that's the general name most people run with.
Yeah.
And none of us call him Din Grogu either.
No. The Din Grogu thing just not happening. Not happening.
Not Din Grogu.
Just too much. He's tiny. He only gets one name, Grogu. Just like Yoda, just like Yaddle.
Damn straight. That's how they roll on Yodaville or whatever planet they're from.
Yes.
But yeah, no man, good practical from Doctor. It looks like they channeled their inner Sir Dork with some explosives, getting some nice particles back there. This is Dr_R2D2 on Instagram.
That's right. Next up, Tones1138, one of our longtime fans. Always love seeing Tones picks in the feed. And this is a great one here. This is Slave One departing Cloud City at the end of ESB with their quarry in tow, aka Carbonite Frozen Han Solo. I mean, this is just a super, super clean shot from Tones. The Slave One looks great. The Cloud City structure in the background looks great. Clouds look great. Everything just melds together so well in this shot from Tones for sure. So good stuff there at Tones 1-1.
Good old He's not doing the Micro Galaxy Squadron. It's the old Fantasy Flight games, huh? Nice little props for that.
3D rendered Cloud City and stock photo. Look at that. I wonder if Tones has gotten into the AI world.
Oh, wait
now.
till you see some of the stuff I'm producing for my next long form video for the channel. I'm using YouTube's AI for the inspiration and script prompts. I then use AI to flesh out the script. Now I'm using AI to create some of the visual assets the script calls for.
That, man. You're going to see a ton of people with 6 fingers in this one.
That's right. We're going full AI, melty facey type of stuff.
There we go. Next up, we got the Great Spartan Figures. Great Spartan Figures giving us an awesome scene recreation from ESB again. ESB heavy episode here. ESB, we have the battle between father and son, though the son does not know that the father is his father yet in this shot. So this is right in the carbonite freezing chamber before they've moved on beyond into the endless pit, which Luke falls into. I mean, honestly, like, great posing here. Luke in the foreground, great posing on Vader. The diorama, I don't know if this is a digi.
Oh, dude, it has to be digi, but it's executed perfectly because they even got it reflecting off the floor. I mean, it fits so damn well.
It does. It looks fantastic. And then the post-processing to get that little atmospheric effect in the foreground as well.
Nice work here by the Great Spartan Figures, all one word, on the gram.
Indeed. Next up, we have On Golden Panda Baba.
Another top-tier handle.
That's a good handle as well.
I'm looking at Thrawn Kill. I'm looking for the 6-fingered man who killed my father. Nice deep cut there.
Yeah.
What's his name? I am Diego Montoya.
Yeah, Inigo Montoya.
You killed my father. Now prepare to die.
Yeah. There we go. But yeah, On Golden Panda Baba has Black Chrysanthemum, who is just dragging a stormtrooper, a remnant stormtrooper, I assume, away by his leg, and this stormtrooper is just like trying to claw his way out of the clutches. He's screwed.
He's like, help!
Chrysanthemum here. Like, you're not getting away, bud. I mean, I really just love the thought behind the shot, and I also love the execution, the practical use of sand, and then Chrysanthemum there in the background holding up the leg. I mean, good posing and good use.
On Golden Panda Baba, outside of having a killer handle, comes up with some fantastic kind of off the wall type of concepts. So if you like these ideas, where it's just like, yeah, man, who thinks to have a big Wookiee dragging a stormtrooper? That's the mind that On Golden Panda Baba has. So a fun follow for sure.
Good stuff there. And then the last one,
we got a sidebar. Here we go. I got it prepped for you. There you go, buddy.
There we go. This one is from _panda.photo on Instagram, and they gave us an awesome shot of unmasked Kylo Ren. Unmasked Kylo Ren here. I like the kind of frame that they used as well. I like that effect that they did.
It fits in the 4:5 aspect ratio.
There you go. So good use there. I also really enjoy the posing. Obviously, this figure is sick as fuck. The soft goods cloak and the soft goods
Hot Toys
tunic all the way around.
I actually have this one. I have this Ben.
Nice. And then I guess it's like a mirroring effect, or is it like a smoke effect that they did and turned that smoke red?
Yeah. I think it does seem to be some sort of smoke, and they probably use light, in fact, to just. Because anytime you get like a white fog in front of light, it's going to inherit those colors.
So all around cool shot here of TLJ Kylo. Love the posing, love the figure, love the use of the frame and all of the cool effects that _panda.photo was able to put on.
The question here, Nick, great stuff from Panda Photo. My kid is now pressuring me to get the T-800 hot toy from Terminator 2, the Arnold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She saw it. She's like, "You need to get this. Why don't you have this? This needs to be in your collection." I'm like, "Well,
is she a Terminator?
Oh yeah, we
fan?
Watched all the Terminators over January. I'm raising my kid right on pop culture shit from back.
Well,
in the
she
day.
knows what's coming now. She can prepare for the future.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm like, well, this Skynet, this is something they're creating right now, and it'll probably go live here in another 2 or 3 years. So don't worry.
I mean, is it it's the hot toys? Is it the battle damaged one?
It's Arnold in T2 in the full, leathers with his helicopter gun, I think the shotgun, and there may be a battle damaged face, but it's basically I would have my own Arnold doll.
Yeah, I mean, look,
it's hard. Like someone in my era, like it's hard not to like kind of show some love to Arnold. So I'm debating it.
I mean, it's a sick looking figure. If it's the one that I'm looking at, it looks pretty
He's great.
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
It's like $350.
Okay, well the new one's $290, so maybe there's a deal these days. But all right,
yeah,
we'll see. I've spent a lot of money on golf, and I know I'm going to be spending more money on golf. I might be joining a virtual golf place as a member, just because I want to keep playing more, and that's a very expensive hobby. So I need to kind of scale back from my other expensive hobby, which is a few $1,000s of Hot Toys a year. So I got to make a choice. But the T800 it's going to be hard to say no to, I think. All right.
Yeah.
Let's close this out, buddy. We're about 10 minutes over. Indeed, not bad for everything we had, but let's round third here.
That's the end of the top 5. That's the end of our show for this week. So Matt, go ahead, close us out.
All right, people. Blast as always. I know we were kind of all over the place. We initially planned this week just to dedicate our special segment to the sequel trilogy. Is it underrated, overhated, or a total mess? But then we had that Andor news pop up. So, hey, I think we did pretty good for all things considered. There's always time for Star Wars time, my friends. We love doing this with you every Wednesday night. Go tell someone else out there. If you're new here and you stuck around for the duration of the show, you were either enjoy watching a car wreck, or you might have dug these two idiots sitting here screaming at clouds and talking about nonsense. So why not consider subscribing to the channel? Leave a comment down below right now. At least like what you're watching. We'd appreciate that. If you want to go next level, like I said earlier, don't forget we've got channel memberships down in the description of this video. Just click on that little button, join, and you can be a member of the SWTS and get those awesome emojis that Divided Skywalker is showing off right now, and your own little Darth Vader cat emoji that will grow in time the longer you are a member. Don't forget, in between shows, we might be putting out content on StarWarsTime.net or youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show. We got shorts coming out daily, typically in the mornings and some at night, so make sure you're checking those out, leaving comments, and sharing. That's the best way to keep getting the name out there and bringing in some new suckers, as we like to call them. All right, my friends, don't forget it. You love it. There's always time for it. And if you listen to it, the Force will be with you always.